Hungary. It's a first win for Mercedes. Hamilton wins the Hungarian Grand Prix. What a way to end the first part of the season.
Hello and welcome to Jerez for day 2 of Formula 1 pre-season testing. A day hurriedly earmarked for a period of wet running, and not just because it rained. Pirelli added to the intermittent showers by watering the track. It hardly hampered activity, with teams still ploughing through systems checks and mechanical basics. McLaren in particular had catching up to do. Jenson Button was first on track, while Nico Rosberg was busiest. Sebastian Vettel had another frustrating day. A battery problem ended his stint after 8 laps. Mercedes and Ferrari-powered cars led the way in terms of times, and more significantly, lap totals. As well as Red Bull, other Renault engine teams struggled. Toro Rosso failed to make it out the garage. The significant news off-track came from McLaren, who confirmed Eric Boullier as racing director in a new management structure that made no mention of Martin Whitmarsh. His time as team principal is clearly over, although there's been no official confirmation.
He's obviously had a good time the last few years of his racing career in Formula 1. He seems like a good character. I don't really know Eric that well. I think he seems, from what I've read, very excited about the challenge, because it is, always a challenge. Formula 1, you're racing against the best guys in the world, and you need to build the right foundations to go racing and to try and win. I think there's a few pieces that need to be added really before we are where we want to be. I think Ron's position is very exciting, that he's back in charge. He's a true racer and a lover of this sport, and he will choose the correct people to be in the correct roles.
You had, I suppose, some catching up to do today. How good a job did you make of it?
You always want to do more laps. This is really our first day of actual testing, of actual running. Anyway, yesterday was a no-show, really. I think that we're getting a good understanding of things in terms of the car, the way that the engine is behaving, the turbo. Obviously, it's very different to what we're used to. There's a lot of work needed, but it's all stuff that we can work on now. I mean, there's nothing that scares me with the car. There's a lot in terms of setup that we can do. It just takes time. And in terms of the way that the engine behaves as well. Under braking, traction, those are areas that I think we're all going to have to work a lot in. But it's exciting because there's a lot we can play with, a lot we can adjust. The brake system is very complicated. So getting it right is tough, and today we've had a few moments where it's not worked quite right and you end up locking up and almost finding the gravel. So it's tricky, but it's enjoyable to drive. I have to be honest, it doesn't sound like anything I've driven before in terms of an F1 car. I love the roar of a V10 and a V8, but this is what we have, and I think as long as we have good racing, the fans will still love it, and I think that you're going to see some great racing this year.
Your suspension system drew a few admiring comments. Maybe if you can't comment in detail about it, is it a good thing that McLaren seem to be coming up with these innovative ideas at a time like this?
Yeah, for us, the main aim over the next, the main aim with this car initially was to have a car that's reliable and a good base, and no issues, nothing that's too complicated in terms of suspension and what have you. Last year we struggled a lot in winter testing with the car bouncing around, the aerodynamics not working correctly, and making the issues even bigger with the rear suspension. So I think a more straightforward approach is important for a base. These cars are going to develop so much over the next few months that you need a good base to build on, and I think we have a good base.
The team did a great job, all of us together, or the whole team together. Not so much me, but anyways, because yesterday, it went a bit wrong with Lewis having a shunt because of a technical problem, and then they flew the bits up during the night, fixed the bits during the night. So thanks to all of you who were up all night back in England, fixing our front wings and everything, and then bringing it back in the morning, and then getting it on the car, and then such a great day. Just drove and drove and drove, and could do loads of laps. and that's what we need at the moment, you know, because that's how you can really progress and get rid of the reliability problems and try and understand everything better. So it's been a very positive day.
How well balanced does the car feel, and how different does it feel?
Yeah, car feels okay. It doesn't feel too different. It's heavier, yeah. So it feels like last year in the race with a lot of fuel. Of course, there's less downforce, and the engine is a bit different. Yeah, that you have higher gears. So in the hairpin, you're going to be using third gear instead of first gear sometimes, like last year. You know, so all those things are a bit different.
What is the key to translating this early momentum into maybe an early season advantage?
I don't know. We just really have to push on, getting the miles in, and trying to get rid of all the reliability problems to really get to the finish line in the first couple of races, and at the same time also try and improve our actual speed. You know, with a day like today, we're on track.
When you look around you and Red Bull not getting many laps in, Sebastian Vettel leaving the track early, does that give you some cause for optimism? Might he look a bit more ordinary this year?
I don't know. I'm not looking at the others at the moment. I'm just looking at ourselves and trying to make the most of it. So I don't know what the others have been doing.
Just to ask you about Michael, you carry the message on his car today. It's a month since the accident. How has that affected you, Nico?
Well, it's really a message from us as a team, you know, to show that we're thinking about him, and not only him but his family and friends, and that we wish him to, you know, a good recovery, and all the best, of course.
We got some laps, a bit of laps with the inters and a bit of laps with dries. Of course, we would have wanted more, but there's so much new things, and you know, there's little problems coming, and it's better always to solve the problem really well before you go out, and to understand each problem and fix it and then move on. But again, today we learned a lot, so that's the main thing.
Jenson Button talked about good cooperation between the Mercedes teams and backing from Mercedes as a supplier. Have you been aware of that?
Yeah. Today especially was a very good day with Mercedes. We fixed a lot of issues. We made a lot of improvements, and you know, we just need to keep working like this, keep getting things better and better. That's the way to go.
Is it all about piling up totals at this stage, or are you beginning to work on the finer points of the car?
I think it's still a lot of system checks and finding out the problems, and yeah, hopefully soon we can really put a lot of mileage in the car, and then we can see how reliable it is.
Just briefly, is the car to your liking? Do you think it plays to your natural strengths? Can you say that at this point?
Yeah, I like the cars. I mean, I like the torque of the engine. It's good to drive. It's a bit more difficult, to be honest, yeah, to deal with the torque, and there's a bit more sliding and wheel spinning, and especially in the morning when the track was wet, it's a little bit more challenging, which I like. Yeah, it's a good feeling in the car, so far so good.
It's about making sure that all the systems are working, so we're not really into the fine-tuning. And to be honest, we won't really be into that till we get to Bahrain. So everyone's got what they call their launch car here. So, you know, it's not got all the tweaks on that we'll have by the time we get to Australia for the first race. But what we need something that will run, that will allow us to understand the new powertrains, to tune our new gearboxes, all this sort of stuff. And yes, of course, we get some fundamental performance information, but we'll start pushing more, maybe a little bit at the end of this week, but much more as we get to Bahrain for the second and third tests.
How much of a headache would it have been if you weren't getting the mileage at this point? And is there any advantage at all in coming to the party a little bit late, as it were, and maybe learning from others' mistakes? Can you do that?
No, absolutely not. I don't think that's a good thing to do, and of course, you know, I don't think Lotus have done it out of choice. I think the whole pit lane has some sympathy for their situation, and indeed Marussia, who we believe are going to get here later this week. Even, you know, with stable regulations and relatively simple engines as we had last year, I still think that the balance was that you got out and you did your running. Now, as I said, it's not necessarily with the car you're going to race, and you're trying to bring your upgrades along in parallel. But this year, with these really quite complex power units that we're using, absolutely we want to be out there, we want to be learning. There are lots of things surprising us as we go along, in spite of all our sort of homework we've done before coming here. So yeah, we want to be out there.
Just briefly and finally, Pat, I mean, the noses have been a big talking point, and you mentioned Lotus. They have this twin tusk. They were insisting yesterday it's quite legal. Are you convinced of that? And what have you seen? What have you made of the other cars you've seen in that particular area? Anything? Are you still thinking you might change what you have on the front of your car?
Well, I think, engineering rhinoplasty could be the subject of the year, couldn't it? As far as Lotus goes, yes, I think it's legal. Of course, Lotus have been hemorrhaging employees from all departments over the last few months, so I think all the teams sort of had a little bit of an idea of where they were going, so it wasn't a big surprise to us. There are some different interpretations. Will they really make that much difference in the end? I'm not sure, but certainly, we absolutely haven't finished work on the whole of the front end of the car. We will be looking for months to come at lots of fundamentals and perhaps more, a lot of nuances of the fundamentals that we eventually decide the direction we want to go in.
How have you found Kimi on his return to Ferrari?
Pretty much the same animal he always is, completely phlegmatic, and very difficult to get him overly excited. But he's just got in the car, pedalled it round the track, not put a foot wrong as is always the case, and is giving us feedback about what we need to do to make it better. And as always with Kimi, he doesn't talk a lot, but he's got incredibly soft hands, and he'll tell you very accurately what the car needs to do to go quicker.
Oh, okay, interesting. So you've now got a clear idea in terms of now systems, in terms of the braking, acceleration, or setup. Is that what you're talking about?
Systems is more our deal. The systems cause the car's balance to change as it goes around the lap. So he describes the balance, and then we modify the systems, or the front wing, or the roll bars, or whatever. But he's very, very clear about where the car needs to be changed.
Right, with the golden nugget, I suppose, as Kimi just over your shoulder asking if he's got anything else, commitments for the rest of the day, with the golden nugget, I suppose, making everything completely seamless. Is that where the performance is going to come? Making the ears come in and braking and everything just feel like completely seamless?
Well, that's one part of what is many, many parts to be done before Melbourne. We've arrived at these precious winter tests in previous seasons, and it's been full. It's been how we're going to get it all done in time. On top of that, there is an awful lot of new functionality to get proven out, a lot of code to write, a lot of code to prove out, and that's just a very busy job. In addition to doing all the normal springs, roll bars, cooling, reliability stuff.
But you're happy so far?
Yes, it's been a good start.
So in this scenic part of southern Spain, the teams are still very much in the foothills of their preparations. Although if this season is largely a battle of engine manufacturers, Renault have begun that on the back foot. Bye for now.